Hi folks, welcome back to the shop here at Project Pine Hills. Today we're talking about this Olight ArkPro flashlight. Now this is a brand new light from Olight. I'll have a link in the description so you can check it out. All right, let's take a look at this flashlight. You notice right off the bat, it's a dual tone flashlight. It's supposed to be an industry first. If we look at the back here, you might see a little more clearly, but this is the ArkPro flashlight. And it's got 4 flashlights in one, and we'll go over that. And this Olight ArkPro is an update to the Olight Arkfeld Pro. And originally they came out with the Arkfeld. Now this light just had 2 flashlights in it. It had a UV light and a flashlight. Just 2 modes you can see there on that selector switch. And then they came out with the Arkfeld Pro, which had a UV light, a laser, and a flashlight. And now they have this ArkPro. And I've got to say, I'm really impressed with this flashlight. First off, they've updated the design. Now, a lot of companies have come out with flashlights since this came out. Morcos has their HD01 Pro, and I really like this flashlight because it has 2 buttons on the UI. It has one for a dedicated laser, and it has another button for a flashlight. Keeps it really simple to switch between the 2. But now with this ArkPro, not only do they have this dial here for a UV light, but they also have a floodlight and a spotlight on the front end of this. But then what they've added, what I really like, is they have this button on the side for a green laser, and it has 2 modes. One is I can do a momentary press where I press it down and then let off and it turns off, or I can press it quickly and it stays on. I can also change the brightness level. So if I press and hold down, it goes to a lower level. That's a class 1 laser. Or I can press and go back up to that class 3R laser. It's a brighter laser that's 25% brighter than the original Arkfeld Pro, and push that button, it turns off. So I really like the fact they separated this laser button, which really was the biggest advantage I think the Morcos had to the Olight. But everything about this thing is a lot smoother. I mean, the switch itself, if we compare that to the original Arkfeld Pro, this switch is much more clicky, and it has a much larger button in the center. If you look at this blue button right here, it stands higher, it's more pronounced. The button on this new ArkPro is much larger and it's concave, and the whole thing feels a lot smoother. Whether it's the button or the switch itself, the switch is super smooth compared to that original ArkPro. The other difference is on the original flashlight, right here you see the battery level indicator, and that's all you have. But on a lot of these new Olights, they're adding not only a battery indicator like you see here on the right, but they're also adding a brightness indicator like you see here on the left. So it's really nice it has both of those in the UI. It looks really nice there on that switch, and get a good look at it there. What else have they added to this? It's really nice. They put a USB-C port on it, and it's very similar to this Oclip Pro, right? This one is one of the first ones they had that had an actual metal door on it, right? You open this door up, it clicks down. The door also has some forgiveness on it where it kind of springs out. Really like that on this for the USB-C charging. If you look at this ArkPro, it's something very similar. We can open this door up, which is plastic, but it's got a little bit of forgiveness if you push it, right? It'll spring out. But now you have USB-C charging. Now you have 2 ways to charge this. One is with the MCC cable. It's a magnetic charging cable. Clips right on the bottom, and this turns red. When it's done charging, it'll turn green. There's no charge indicator up here on the switch. And I was curious how this charged on USB-C, so we just open this side port, plug in the cable, and you can see it has a charge indicator right here on the right. So you have 2 options here to charge this flashlight, MCC cable or USB-C. I really like that. I think that's going to be really popular with folks. So what they've done on the front end of this light is they've managed to put 4 lights out here. Now this light has a glass lens, a pure floodlight. So the light on this is much cleaner because of the improvements they've made. But they managed to get 4 lights up here. And you can see if I turn that on, they got a UV light there in the center. If I press that laser, you can see the laser's at the bottom. And then they put a floodlight there on the left, as you can see there. If I flip this switch over 1 notch, now we have a spotlight over here. So they got 4 lights on the front end of this flashlight, which is pretty impressive. It's the first company I know who's done that. If you look at the Arkfeld Pro, they just got 3 lights on the front end of this, with the UV being on one side, the flashlight on the other, and that green laser in the center. So they managed to get a 4th light on the front lens of this flashlight. So the spotlight has a typical cone mirrored lens, and you got on the floodlight what looks more like a TIR lens here. They changed the knurling on the side of the flashlight. Really nice knurling on both sides of this flashlight. And the spotlight on this flashlight has 205 meters of throw. That's double the distance of the original Arkfeld Pro. On the original Arkfeld Pro, the flashlight kind of had a white hot center and a floodier effect to it. So it's really kind of 2 lights in one. If you get up closer, you can see that white spot in the center. Whereas with this new ArkPro, you have a very clear choice of a very floody light that's great for working up close, or you can switch over to that spotlight with a nice tight white hot center. So 2 very distinct beams on this flashlight. There's no tint to the beam at all. Probably can't show this, but even Olight themselves talk about the fact that there's no tint. Sometimes you'd have a minor tint to this light. This has a much purer light on it versus that original Arkfeld Pro. They also have a dual level UV light. So you see if I turn the UV light on there, I can hold the button down and it goes to a higher level. Same thing for the laser. right? You can turn that laser on. If I press it down, it goes to a lower level. Press it in, it goes to a higher level. So you got dual level UV and laser on here. And that UV light can now go up to 1200 milliwatts. Now this flashlight, like the Arkfeld Pro, allows you to turn on the laser and also turn on any one of the 3 lights on the front. So there's the UV light, floodlight, spotlight, all can be turned on while the laser is on. So you can have both the laser and the flashlight running at the same time. And when I press the button to turn it off, they both turn off. And the way you can have the flashlight and the laser on the same time on this new ArkPro, it's more intuitive than the original. The original, you had to turn the laser on and then double tap to turn on the light to have them both on at the same time. And that means you only have one brightness level for the flashlight when the laser is on. We can go over the modes of this flashlight real quick. If I press and hold this button, it goes into moonlight mode. It's a really low output mode. It outputs 1 lumen on moonlight mode. And then if I hold it down, it's going to go up to low. Keep holding it down, medium, and then high, and then back down to low. If I double tap, it's going to go to turbo. Press again, it turns the light off. Now this light outputs 1500 lumens on turbo. One thing I noticed on the floodlight is it has a pretty round beam. You don't really see any square artifacts unless you get really close from the lens. But if you go to flood mode, you'll notice on this beam that, like the workhorse light, it has 2 flat sides, one here and one here. So a little bit of the bezel shows up in the light beam. And you can see it here if we turn the light on. You see a little bit of light right here on that part of the bezel and some here. But that gives you that beam that's flat on 2 sides, similar to the workhorse. On this workhorse HD01 Pro, you'll notice something similar, except it has a flat side on 3 of the sides of that beam. If I tap and hold, you'll see that moonlight mode comes on and turns off, and now it's in lockout mode. So now the light won't turn on. So that keeps this light from accidentally turning on your bag or when you're traveling with it. All right, we're gonna take some quick beam shots. Here's the floodlight on low on this flashlight. There's medium, there's high, there's turbo. Okay, and I'm gonna switch it over to the spotlight. And you can see now we can hit these trees out there, and we're on turbo right now. We'll go down to low, medium, high, and then turbo. And yeah, we can hit those trees out there, and you can see for a multifunction flashlight, it's got a really, really incredible throw. And this ArkPro, just like the original Arkfeld Pro, it's got a magnetic tail cap on it, so you can rotate this around 360 degrees to mount that light. It's also got that reversible deep carry pocket clip, so you can put this down deep in your pants pocket. Here's a quick side-by-side comparison of the ArkPro and the Arkfeld Pro. You can see the new ArkPro is a little bit taller than the original, probably because of that USB port. You can see how that switch is larger on the ArkPro, and they've changed the size of this dial a little bit. I really like it better. You can see here they have that edge there right in the center, and they have that on both sides. It gives it sort of a Tesla Cybertruck kind of feeling. Here's a quick view of the side of the Arkfeld Pro next to the ArkPro, and you can see that knurling, how they changed that. You can see how they had it on the original flashlight. I do like the improved knurling. We can look here on the front end and see the difference of the lenses. They've swapped these 2 lights. The laser's in the exact same spot it was before, right there at the bottom on both of these lights. You can take a look at the back here and compare the clips. You can see the clip's a little bit wider on the ArkPro than it was on the Arkfeld Pro. They don't have the hole here at the bottom like they did on the original. There you can see it from the side. It's about the same from the side. Now lots of companies have come out with lights like this. ThruNight's come out with one. Of course, Workhorse has their version of it. Now even Klein Tools has one of these flashlights. And one thing they got right was they have 2 buttons here, one for the laser, one for the flashlight. And one thing I don't like about this light is when you press this button, you have to click through all the brightness modes. And it's 4 clicks before you can turn on this right-angled side work light. So I don't like the fact you have to cycle through all those different brightness modes before you can turn on the work light. That is one drawback to the ArkPro, is it doesn't have a right-angled side light in the same way this workhorse does. So what's nice about this workhorse is you can double tap this front switch, get this right-angled light, attach it magnetically, and now you have a light that's shining down. That is one benefit the workhorse has over the ArkPro. And of course, this side light can also have an RGB effect. But I really like the fact that this light has both a floodlight and a spotlight just to switch away. But the switch is very smooth. I mean, it clicks like the original one, but it's a lot smoother, something you really have to feel to notice. But I mean, everything about it, the button's much easier to press. This really just showcases how good Olight is at making these flashlights. They just keep making them better and better. It's super impressive. One of the best build qualities. Like, I'd have to give this light probably a 10 of 10 for flashlights. It doesn't have that side light on it, which would be nice, but for a lot of people, they're going to prefer the fact that it has both a floodlight and a spotlight and one flashlight. So super impressed by this light. And they have this light in 5 different colors. This is the dual tone silver graphite color. Olight says it's the first dual tone flashlight on the market, and they're probably right, where they have these 2 different colors on the same flashlight. Now Olight also has an ArkPro Ultra version of this. It's made of their OAL aluminum, that extra durable aluminum they have. And they also have an ArkPro Light version of this, which has 3 lights in one instead of 4. Doesn't have this laser here on the right. I think it's a little bit smaller than this one, so you might want to check that out. Really impressed by this new ArkPro. It's one of the best flashlights I've ever seen. Well, there you have it. That's the Olight ArkPro. I'll have a link in the description so you can check it out. Let me know in the comments what you think of this flashlight, and please remember to like and subscribe. Those actions help me to continue to bring content to you here on the Project Pine Hills channel. And with that said, I'll catch you in the next video.